In addition to the billions of dollars given to Hamas, top funder Iran, Joe Biden restored hundreds of millions of dollars to the very corrupt Palestinian entities. He gave them hundreds of millions of dollars. Many people didn't even know it. Wonder what deal he made. Joe Biden betrayed Israel.
So that was Donald Trump blaming President Joe Biden for Hamas's attack on Israel. But as you can imagine, that was far from all that Trump had to say on the matter. So as with the other international conflicts during Biden's term, Trump insisted that Hamas would not have attacked if simply Trump was still the president. So here's that. Says the horrible attack on Israel, much like the attack on Ukraine, would never have happened if I were president. Zero chance, apparently. Just him being the president would magically undo the years of tension that played into the events unfolding that we're seeing today. But he also wrote, of course, he couldn't put aside his racism, and it shone brightly in this post that says the same people that raided Israel are pouring into our once beautiful USA through our totally open southern border at record numbers. And I have to stop there because he's not the only person who said this. A senator also tweeted essentially the same exact thing. And do they think that Hamas operating out of Gaza, an open air prison which they cannot leave, are somehow, for some reason, leaving and going to Mexico with the intent to come into the United States illegally? And to what end? And to what end? For what purpose would they do this? It's just so absurdly racist and a way to tie in multiple types of racism. But that wasn't the only thing he said. It continues on in that post. Are they planning an attack within our country? Crooked Joe Biden and his boss, Barack Hussein Obama, did this to us. And of course, he had to put the middle name in there to remind you that Obama has an Arab sounding middle name and that therefore is a terrorist or supports terrorism and is for some reason bringing Hamas into the United States. Again, to what end? He could not tell you. But the other Republican candidates for president, they weren't as overtly racist as Trump, but they still are choosing to blame this on Joe Biden.
Irresponsible for Secretary Blinken to say that the $6 billion doesn't weigh in here. I mean, let's be honest with the American people and understand that Hamas knows and Iran knows they're moving money around as we speak because they know $6 billion is going to be released. That's the reality.
I'm hearing people say, well, that $6 billion wasn't, money's fungible. So yes, I'm sure that those exact dollars weren't. They knew that was coming. That frees up other money. Of course, they're funding Hamas and Hezbollah in big ways.
If this can happen in Israel, an incursion of what we assumed was a well-protected border with strong intelligence resources, preventing an attack, really a terrorist attack like this. If it can happen there, it can happen here.
It does happen here. It's white supremacist terrorism. You as an American are more likely to be the victim of white supremacist terror than radical Islamist terror by margins, wide margins. School shootings are terrorist attacks. It happens here all the time. And your party is the party that never wants to address that. But Cenk, 80 years of occupation be damned. This is Joe Biden's fault somehow.
Yeah, let me address the absurdities first, then we'll get to the $6 billion because I want to explain to you what is actually happening. It's so hard to tell through Republican lies what the truth is. So Trump says it's the same people that could attack you here. I mean, Ray Vanna addressed it partially there, but really, how could they get here? And why would it be the same people? They're not the same people at all. I guess Trump is trying to say Palestinians, I don't know, they're brown, Latinos, they're brown. They're in completely different parts of the world. They have completely different issues. The people that come across the border are largely trying to get jobs here, create hope for their family. There's some bad guys that come through, but the overwhelming majority are people, and you can say, hey, they're wrong, they shouldn't come in documented, etc. But they're trying to provide for their families. They ain't got nothing to do with terrorism in the Middle East. It's just, I mean, look, I don't know. I feel like I address MAGA too much on the show, but I mean, do you guys bother keeping up with any facts? Do you understand that Mexicans are different than Palestinians? Is that a hard concept for you guys to understand? So, and I'm okay. They're always so sensitive, right? Okay, how about when Trump, for no reason, says Barack Hussein Obama? Is it like, okay, the Democrats, you know how they are. They love Muslims, and you know how Muslims are, they're all evil. But what? I'm not racist. I don't know what you're talking about, okay? Yeah, I know, I got it. All immigrants. And he said, of course, as we covered earlier in the show, that those immigrants were poisoning the blood of our nation. So literally a carbon copy of a Hitler quote. And no one other than Hitler and Trump has ever said poisoning the blood of our nation. What does that mean? It means their blood is impure. What is the blood a reference to? Race. Okay, you could pretend that Trump didn't say any of that, even though it's all on tape. You could pretend that even though talking about blood is obviously talking about race, that it's not racist. You can pretend any goddamn thing you like. You can pretend that the earth is flat. But for all of the rational people left in America, this guy cannot be president again. This guy is I know it doesn't move any voters, but we do facts on this show. Trump is deeply racist. He's a terrible human being. He's one of the most vile creatures I have ever seen walk this goddamn planet. And he sickens me the way after he goes after immigrants, etc. Look, we have an immigration problem in this country. Just because we have an immigration problem doesn't mean that you should spread hatred towards others and then confuse Mexicans and Nicaraguans for Palestinians and confuse immigrants for terrorists. He's a repulsive lizard-like creature. If he doesn't repulse you, go to a therapist, okay? Oh, but I'm anti-establishment. Yeah, so am I. But I didn't pick a fascist for a leader. Okay, so the $6 billion, it is not our money. We didn't give $6 billion to Iran. It's Iran's money that we put sanctions on. Now you could say sanctions. Another way to phrase that is we just took their money. Another way to phrase that is we stole their money. And you can say we should steal their money. I don't like what Iran is doing. I hate the government of Iran, me personally. I can't stand them. They're repressive mullahs that harm people around them, but most of all, they harm the civilians of Iran, and I loathe the Iranian government. But it was their money, and we did steal it. So now we give it back to them in return for hostages. I don't love that deal either, because I think it encourages more hostage taking. But Joe Biden didn't do it because he wanted to help Iran. That's absurd. It's a preposterous lie. And does Iran get it? No, Iran does not get it directly. It goes to Qatar. And if you go, oh, Qatar, so what? They're Muslims, I hate them. Yeah, thank you for proving my point. No, Qatar is a different country than Iran, with a different government and different people. I have to speak softly and clearly for some conservatives to understand. And Qatar is releasing the money slowly. They have not given it to them yet. By the way, that's another giant lie. Oh, they took the money and did this with it. They don't even have the money yet. And it goes through humanitarian organizations. So it does not go to the government of Iran. It does not replace any part of their budget. It is for humanitarian purposes. If you say we shouldn't have given back the money we stole from them so they could use it for humanitarian purposes, and we should have left those Americans to what? Stay there for decades and maybe die in an Iranian prison? Okay, fine, say that, but at least be honest about it. But that is way too much to ask for a Republican politician. So every one of them you see talking about how we gave the Iranians $6 billion and they used it to help this attack is an enormous liar. They lie on purpose and they lie with no remorse. Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.